Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be discussing the books that are very hyped that I don't personally love. It goes without saying that you can like these books, it's just my personal opinion. We're allowed to have different book tastes, that's fine. And there's some books here that I actually don't mind, that I actually quite enjoyed, but I just didn't love them. So that's the key word, I didn't love them. Some of them, yeah, I really didn't like, but some of them I did actually enjoy, and most of them I can definitely see why people would enjoy them. So with that out of the way, let's get right into this. So the first book that I'm going to talk about is going to be a pretty quick one, and that is going to be the Throne of Glass series slash just kind of all Sarah J Maas books, to be honest. They've all been just a kind of a disappointment to me, but that's not 100% true. I actually really enjoy Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight. I just don't like the rest of the series. It went downhill. All of the elements that I liked, she changed and she made it completely different, and I didn't like that. So this follows Selena Sardothian, who is an assassin who has been in prison because she's an assassin, and she then becomes the prince's champion in this upcoming kind of game nearly to see who gets to be the king's assassin. Yeah, as I said, I really enjoyed the first and second books, but I really didn't care for the rest of the series, and I also just really didn't care for the House of Earth and Blood, and I haven't tried the ACOTAR series and I don't think I will either. I just don't think it's for me. My favorite character in this series is Kale, and she tried to destroy his character and it just didn't work, because I was like, you had just given him a personality transplant to change your narrative. And I'm like, but that's not actually who he is, and he's perfectly in his rights to be mad. And yeah, everyone seems to think that he's a villain and I don't agree. And yeah, that's something Sarah J Maas does a lot though. She just gives them complete personality transplants to fit her story, and I don't like it. So the way I feel about the series is I like the first and second. I think they're about 4 stars. Then Heir of Fire, Tower of Dawn and Kingdom of Ash, there's bits that I like in those, but in general I don't really like them. They're kind of 2 to 3 kind of those ones. And then Queen of Shadows and Empire of Storms, they are 1 stars for me. They are such boring books and they are so bad in my opinion. And so then book number 2 that I'm going to talk about is Daisy Jones and the Six. I have very mixed feelings about this. This is told in a interview format, and it follows a band called Daisy Jones and the Six. So this interviewer is asking them questions, and we are following the story of how they started and how it all came to a climax and they broke up. Yeah, I have such mixed feelings about this. Like, I really don't know how I feel. When I originally finished it, I was like, yes, I love it. And then while I was sitting there, I was like, wait, no. The more I thought about it, I was like, no, I didn't like that. And I didn't like that. And then I was like, yeah, but I loved it. It was just messy feelings, basically. What I did really enjoy about it is the interviewer is like, you know, you don't see what questions the interviewer is asking, but they will be telling the story. And so some person would be like, oh yeah, so she said this and that caused me to do this. And then another person will be like, no, that's not what happened. I did this. And it's very interesting. Kind of the whole thing about it is it should be noted that on matters both big and small, sometimes accounts of the same event differ. The truth often lies unclaimed in the middle. So you're kind of supposed to come to your own opinion on what happened and who is telling the truth, or basically none of them is telling the truth. I can really see why people love this, because it is obviously the interview format is a very unique thing, and it is very realistic and they do feel like real characters, and I can see it, but there was just some bits in here that I was like, I didn't like that. I also forgot to mention this currently sits at about a 3 to 3.5. I'm not really sure. So book number 3 that I'm going to talk about, I have spoken about this before in my Nope Trope book tag. This is Leah on the Offbeat. This is probably my least favorite book in this stack. Not including, like, obviously if we count Empire of Storms and Queen of Shadows, then maybe not, but yeah, this is a book that I don't like. So obviously some of these I'm okay with, but I just don't like this book. I think it is very bad. And Leah is a terrible character. She is awful. As I said before, I said it in the note to book tag, she does terrible things to her friends and she says horrible things and then she just goes, that's just me being a Slytherin. And I'm like, no, it's you being a horrible person. That said it straight there. Again, another thing I said in the note to book tag, which I really disliked about this, is there is a character in here who is trying to figure out what their sexuality is, and this character says a sentence along the lines of, I think I might be a bit bi, and Leah just explodes on this character. And it is so horrible. This character is struggling to figure out their identity, and Leah has figured hers out. She knows that she is bisexual, and instead of being like, that's okay, you don't have to choose a label, you can figure it out as it comes, she just goes, no, you have to choose a label. And I'm like, no, they don't have to choose a label. They can take their time. Just because it doesn't fit your narrative. Like, no. I didn't actually tell you a synopsis. This follows Leah, who is Simon from Simon vs. Homo Sapiens Agenda, his best friend, and she is bisexual, and despite the fact her friend is openly gay, she is struggling to tell people that she is bi. And it is coming near the end of them in high school, and she's trying to figure out what college she wants to go to. She's trying to figure out a crush that she has and all of that stuff. This is probably a 1 out of 5 stars. I'm also not the biggest fan of Simon vs. Homo Sapiens Agenda, but I'm okay with that. I like it more than this. Then book number 4 on here, this is again another series, that is The Cruel Prince. Though I will say my favourite in the series is The Wicked King, and I do quite enjoy that. And I also did quite enjoy The Queen of Nothing. It wasn't the greatest, but this one I really didn't care for it that much. So this follows Jude, who is a human girl living in fairy, and she decides that she is going to become as ruthless as all of the fairies who, you know, torment her, because she doesn't want to be tormented anymore. None of the characters are, I mean, we're supposed to root for Jude, I'm pretty sure. I think we're supposed to be like, yes, you do this, you become ruthless, and you, yeah, fine, but like, I really don't care about her. I also really don't care about Carden. And I really don't care about the romance between them. And this book is so incredibly boring. It gets interesting at around the 240 mark. And so you have about like that much of the book that's actually interesting. And I'm still mad about it. A plot twist happens like there, and for the rest of the book it's just go, go, go. And I really enjoyed that bit. But this, nothing happens. And I really hate Holly Black's writing style. Number 1, it's told in first person present, which I don't really like. And then also, she just lists everything. So I go to the shop, I go home from the shop, I make myself some lunch. I'm kind of hungry, guys. But yeah, I really didn't care for this. I did much for the sequels. I thought, again, I didn't really like Holly Black's writing style in those, but I at least found the stories more interesting and more engaging. I gave it a 3, but it's probably more of like a 2.5. But The Wicked King is a 4-star book for me, so it is a book that I actually quite enjoy. Book number 5 on this list is going to be Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. This follows Mia Corvere, and when she was a child, her father was executed for trying to lead a rebellion, and then her mother and her younger brother were imprisoned, but she managed to escape, and she spent all of these years training to be an assassin so she can get her revenge. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of this series. This is a 2.5 and God's Grave is a 3. So again, they aren't bad ratings by any means. They just aren't, you know, 5 stars, which is kind of what I expected from all of the love going into these. A lot of people really seem to love Mia, but no, I didn't. I didn't really feel any connection to her. Her whole personality is, oh, I'm a badass, and I'm like, I know. My biggest complaint about this, again, is the writing style. It is so over the top, so over descriptive, so repetitive. Also, Mia is 16 in this, and she is all of the time described in a very sexual way, and I don't like that. It makes me very uncomfy. I will say the world building in these series are incredible, but everything else kind of falls flat for me, to be honest. I mean, the plot's not too bad either, but characters, writing, I really don't care. But I haven't read Dark Dawn. I'm not expecting to give it a 5-star, but I'm hoping that maybe I can it'll pull off a 4-star for me. So then book number 6 is going to be the Maze Runner series by James Dashner. Honestly, what even is the plot of this again? There's this maze. One day Thomas shows up in this maze and he wants to get out. I only read these like 2 years ago and I can't remember a single thing. I think that says a lot. I don't think these are as hyped anymore, but they definitely were for our time. And I do remember enjoying this, but I didn't like the rest of them. Especially the 2 prequels. The 2 prequels were terrible, but I also didn't really like the 2 sequels either. I think kind of something that I realized is I'm just kind of not the biggest dystopian fan, I think, because the Maze Runner series, Divergent, I never even finished Insurgent. I could not get through that book. The Hunger Games, I don't love those. Those are probably my favorite dystopian Hunger Games, but again, I don't love them. I think the only character I really liked was Newt. And yeah, that was about it. All in all, a very forgettable series. And then the final book that I'm going to talk about is the Three Dark Crowns series by Kendara Blake. This is probably the least hyped of these, but I still have seen a good few people talk about these on BookTube. And I just really don't like this series as a whole. Again, this is another one that I think I just not the biggest fan of. The writing style. Also, a lot of people like the character Catherine, and I did not like her at all. She annoyed me so much. This book was all set up. So we're told that the synopsis is that every generation there is triplets born to the queen. And then when these triplets become of age, they then have to fight to the death, and the last one standing gets to be the queen. So we are told that they are going to have to fight to the death and only one can remain, and then that doesn't happen in this book. It happens in the sequel, but yeah, this is all set up. And again, this is all I think about a 2.5 or a 2 or a 2.5, I can't remember. A very big disappointment, but the second book is probably my favorite, and it was originally supposed to be a duology, and I think it should have been kept at a duology because the fourth book was so bad in my opinion. I really disliked where the series went. The fourth book is probably my least favorite. This is probably my third. Then the third one was okay, but the second one is my favorite, and even then that was only a 3-star, which again, a 3-star is not a bad rating by any means. It just means that it wasn't as good as I thought it would be. There was definitely bits of this that I did enjoy, but in general it was a bit of a letdown. So I think a lot of these, the problem is the writing style for me, and then the other is just kind of unlikable / forgettable characters. I can deal with unlikable characters if they're well written and they're supposed to be unlikable, but some of these characters, you were supposed to be on their side, and I couldn't feel anything towards them. By no means do I hate these. I mean, there's only one book here that is an actual 1-star read. We're all entitled to our own opinions, and if you love any of these, that's really great because all books deserve some bit of love. But unfortunately, these weren't the ones for me. So do tell me if there's any here that you actually really love, and tell me what you love about them, because it might actually be something that I really liked, or it might be the reason that I didn't like it. So yeah, so please tell me. And then also tell me what is a really hyped book that you also don't like. So thank you guys so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.